Well, hello, and thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. My name is Dan Marshner. I'm Director of International Admission at Loyola Marymount University, and I'm very excited to be here with a couple of phenomenal colleagues to talk a little bit about what our universities are doing to address student safety, whether we're talking about the coronavirus pandemic or just generally speaking, and we'll go into several different scenarios and again, provide a perspective from our individual campuses. Also would encourage you to let us know what you're interested in hearing from us. And so you should see a questions tab or a questions space that you can use. And so I definitely encourage you to ask any questions through that space. That's what we'll be monitoring. Please note that if you do see a chat function on yours, we will not be monitoring that. We'll just be monitoring the questions portion. But again, really excited to be here with Rashmi and Petra and to share a little bit about ourselves. And I'll kick off and talk a little about Loyola Marymount University. So if we could go to that slide there, that'd be great. Thank you very much. LMU is a medium-sized institution located in Los Angeles, California. We are about a kilometer from the Pacific Ocean. We have about 6,500 undergraduate students and offer a really wide range of courses, including things in STEM fields like civil, mechanical, electrical engineering, computer science, but also great programs in the arts. So we have a phenomenal school of film and television. So our connection to Hollywood and the entertainment industry is certainly very strong. We also see a lot of students interested in things like economics, psychology, political science, things like that. We also have phenomenal theater programs, so a really wide range of courses that we offer. And probably the thing we're most proud of is our international student population. So we have students who come from 90 different countries. They represent a little over 10% of our student body. And they really provide a tremendous amount of perspectives and diversity to our campus, which is something we really celebrate. And so those international connections in a global city like Los Angeles are really important to us. So that's a little bit about LMU. Go ahead and pass along to Rashmi.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Rashmi Anand, and I'm a senior admission advisor at Emory University. We are a medium-sized private research institution located in Atlanta, Georgia, so that southeastern part of the United States. We have around 6,000 undergraduate students on our campuses, and we are a destination university for students that are really looking for that rigorous academic experience, but with a very globally focused purpose. So we are very excited by having around 18% international students on our campus every single year. Some of you may know that Emory has 2 undergraduate divisions where students can begin their career. So our 2 undergraduate divisions at Emory where students can start off are Oxford College, which is our historic founding site, as well as Emory College of Arts and Sciences, which feels a little bit more like that medium-sized research institution. Oxford, however, feels a little bit more like your small private liberal arts college. So students can get academically equivalent undergraduate experiences on our 2 different campuses, but for junior and senior years, everyone across the Emory cohort is together on our Atlanta campus, which is what you can see pictured here on your screen. You'll notice in the background of the screen, you can see some of the skyline of Atlanta. So we're about 15 to 20 minutes away from that midtown downtown area of the city of Atlanta, which also provides our students with excellent opportunity to undergraduate research and undergraduate internships. I'm really excited to talk to you more about our campuses and to interact with many more of you at the college fair tables later today.
Awesome. So hello, everybody. My name is Petra Orent, and I'm the Senior Associate Director of Admissions at Franklin University, Switzerland. We were founded over 50 years ago as an American-style university that would solely be located in Switzerland. And as you're seeing in the photo, we are located in the beautiful city of Lugano, which is in the Italian-speaking part of the country. So we're about an hour north of the city of Milan in Italy, or about 2 hours south of Zurich in Switzerland. Our institution functions entirely in English and follows the American liberal arts model, but we are duly accredited. So all of our students will receive not only a US, but also a Swiss degree when they graduate. And we're offering at the moment around 22 different academic majors. As I'm sure many of you can imagine, generally areas such as banking and finance, management, marketing, economics, international relations, and political science tend to be most popular among our students. But we're also seeing tremendous growth in areas such as the environmental studies and sciences, the art areas, communication and media studies, as well as psychology. Franklin is a small community, so we have about 400 undergraduate students, but they're coming from over 60 different nationalities. So traditionally, the Swiss population is only about 5% of our campus, so over 95% of our students are coming from outside of the country. And it is a residential campus, so really kind of focused our community. And we do have a signature program called Academic Travel, where we actually take the academics outside of the classroom with an experiential learning component. So every single semester, one of your classes that have a 2-week travel component associated with it. And so maybe we'll now head into our questions to kind of let us know a little bit more about our campuses. So the first question that we wanted to address, kind of what did our universities do in terms of the global pandemic, and how did we react? So for Franklin University, Switzerland, we have remained open from this entire start of the pandemic. So obviously being in Europe, we experienced this a little bit sooner than many other places in the world. So our kind of first point of contact tended to be towards the end of February, when there was kind of the large breakout in and around northern Italy. And as I mentioned, we are relatively close to the border, so it is about 45 minutes from our location. And so there was a lot of questions about the closing of borders in Italy. We had many students, obviously, who would prefer to have gone on planes and sure that they were able to return home. But we had many of our students still remain on campus. We remained fully operational for those that remained in Switzerland, through the end of the semester in May, and then continued into our summer sessions. All of our classes did transition into an online format. So we went ahead with that plan to finish out the spring semester. And as of the 8th of June, Switzerland had allowed universities to be back in the classroom. So we actually started to move towards the hybrid model as part of our summer one, where the students that were on campus were able to return to the classroom, and then the ones that were away would join virtually.
Okay. And I can mention a little bit about how we reacted to LMU. So first of all, we certainly have always acted with an abundance of caution and with the safety and the health of all of our students, faculty, and staff as the paramount concern. And so, first of all, we did transition to online classes in the spring semester, starting in March. And actually, what we found is that students were really pleased with the quality of the transition. And then, in fact, in course evaluations, professors were rated higher this previous semester than had been in the past. And so I think that really is a testament to the smaller class sizes and the individual attention, which is really a hallmark of the experience of being at LMU. Since the spring semester ended, we did offer summer courses that were online as well. And we did have a smaller number of students who stayed on campus. That's transitioned to the fall semester as well. So we'll be offering exclusively online classes for the fall semester. And we have a much smaller student population living on campus than we've had in the past. So we typically have 3,000 to 3,500 students living on campus. And currently we're anticipating something along the lines of about 250 students living on campus. And those are primarily students who have some kind of exceptional circumstances for why they would be on campus. So the vast majority of our students will be taking classes online, and they'll be taking their classes from home. And so that's certainly, again, a decision that was made with the best interest of the students and the campus community in mind. So we are offering a lot of really great online resources for our students as well to make sure they maintain that connection and develop foster that community that's so important to us at LMU as well. So again, I think the most important thing to keep in mind too is just realizing that these are decisions that are not made in a vacuum. So it's not something that LMU decided to make this decision based exclusively on our own campus. We are following the guidelines we received from the local, state, and national authorities in the United States. And specifically in Los Angeles and in California in general, we have guidelines that do not allow us to have in-person classes right now, in the hopes that in the future, as the situation of the pandemic improves, as we're all hoping for, that we will be able to get back to in-person classes. But again, the earliest we would anticipate that happening would be January 2021. And I'll pass on to Rashmi.
Thanks, Dan. So as I said, I'm at Emory University and we're in Atlanta, Georgia. When the pandemic really started to to enter Atlanta, our students were on spring break. So we extended our spring break by about a week and allowed our students during that time to return to their residence communities on campus and move all of their belongings out in preparation for a transition to a fully remote rest of the semester. All of our students that were abroad for the semester or for spring travel courses were brought back home as well. And we have temporarily canceled and restricted all the travel outside of the university. Many of our international students who were unable to return to their home countries during that time were allowed to remain on campus. So we continue to have resources to support those students, as well as any other students that might have faced housing instability. And then students that were unable to return who are unable to return to their residence halls during that 1 week extended spring break, we were able to provide them the support to pack up their rooms and move everything into storage until they were able to come and claim their belongings. We also assisted with flights for international students through our International Student Services Office and our Office of International Student Programs on both of our 2 campuses. We also have made sure that one of the really good resources that comes with being at Emory University is that we are right next door to the CDC. So Emory's campus and the CDC literally, quite literally share a campus grounds. So we've been able to get a lot of our guidance from the CDC about best practices for the few students that did have to remain on campus, such as moving them into single occupancy apartment style housing. So we've implemented contact tracing since then, and many other measures that have come with having the CDC right next door.
Okay. Great. So we've addressed this a little bit already, but the next question is, what is your university planning for the fall 2020 semester? And what will that look like for students who are able to come to campus? How will that feel for students who are able to come to campus in the fall? I can start off with LMU and Megan mentioned that we actually are not welcoming the vast majority of our students back to campus. And the reason why is because of some of those national guidelines and state guidelines, but also because we are focused on making sure that students and their families are staying healthy and safe. We certainly have been concerned by some of the things we've seen from other college campuses in the United States that were open, and unfortunately we're not able to continue to have their semester in person. So again, we are planning to have almost exclusively online classes. That does mean that international students who are enrolling as first-time students are staying at home to be able to take their classes for the most part, unless they've studied in the United States before. We do have some students who are ongoing international students, so who've already been enrolled in LMU, who are able to come back to Los Angeles and take classes. But for the most part, campus is closed, with the exception of a handful of students who are living on campus. And again, we are obviously doing a lot more of safety precautions for students who are on campus, so maintaining social distancing, requiring masks on campus, a lot more hand sanitizer, things like that. All of this to say that we're hoping that the fall semester runs smoothly online, and again, in the hopes that we can welcome students back to campus in January. But again, the decision was made out of abundance of caution and also out of in respect to state and local guidelines in regards to when we can return to campus with the students. So, Rashmi, you want to take the?
Yeah, I can go next and talk a little bit about Emory's plans. Emory has not welcomed the majority of our students back to campus either. So all of our sophomores through seniors are pursuing a remote and virtual semester, with the exception of any international students who may have not been able to return to their home countries back in March. So if it was an international student that was unable to get back, but they are able to physically make it to campus, we are allowing them to have a residential semester if that's the case. For our first year students, so the class that just started, they were given the option of whether they wanted to come live physically in campus, on our campuses, or if they wanted to do remote learning. For the students that opted to live on campus, even they were given a hybrid model, and we extended the class day. So rather than having all of the classes centered within a certain period of time, we went ahead and extended those towards the night and included more sections of every class to increase the ability to physically distance inside the classroom. For our students that are on campus as well, all of that, only 1 or 2 of their classes would be in person. The rest of them would be done completely remotely. And we also shut down all of our traditional dining services of having, one big communal dining hall for the entire campus. That's no longer the case for this semester. We are having our students do boxed meals and all of that. Additionally, students are required on our campuses to wear masks for every single location that they're in, with the exception of their residence halls, and they're required to remain physically distant inside the classroom and outside of the classroom. So no communal gathering spaces as is normally traditional at Emory.
Awesome. And so at Franklin University, Switzerland, we are set to open up our semester next Friday and Saturday. And we are moving forward with being fully in person for the fall. Obviously, due to Swiss regulations, many of the students traveling from certain countries will have to sit out a quarantine of 10 days. So we have prepared our campus to welcome these students into their residential spaces, and of course to take care of them with meal services that will be provided and any extra support that they need, and then for them to obviously start their classes in an online format until they finish out their quarantine period and can join everybody else in a normal classroom setting. So we are looking forward to having everybody back on campus. In these kind of last couple of weeks and things like that, we've certainly had students reach out to us that due to, flight restrictions or getting out of certain countries, it's easier to come on different days. So we have been incredibly flexible to welcome students whenever they are able to arrive to Switzerland and to make sure that they are all set as we move through this entire area. So fingers crossed, everything kind of runs smoothly. As Switzerland has kind of indicated to all schools, it is not a problem to return and to kind of set the guidelines that we need. So Franklin has announced as of today that we will ask our students, staff, faculty, anybody in our community to take a pledge, very much kind of addressing the fact that, they should be looking after themselves, but also the other members of our community, which will be great. And then obviously implementing small things in terms of the same wearing masks across campus, especially in social areas, and then kind of figuring out how to almost kind of split things up so that the students are still able to very much, meet up to have interactive classes. But we will certainly see how the country kind of responds to that as well. Our next question that we wanted to address are, how are the universities supporting the students through mental health, and other kind of support services? So maybe I can pass this to Dan first, and then we can go through the rest of our universities.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, we certainly take mental health very seriously at LMU as well. Actually, my understanding is that there's a new category, if you're familiar with the Princeton Review, that talked about mental health services, and LMU was ranked in the top 20 in terms of mental health services for students. And so there's certainly something that's very important to us. And I think that it's something that's becoming more and more crucial to students' health overall to really address some of the concerns they may be facing. And that's anything from providing counseling services for students to, we actually have a therapy dog on campus, or kind of a campus mascot, if you will, named Buster. And so students can actually sign up to walk Buster and play with Buster and things like that. So as a way to just kind of de-stress a little bit. But also we just offer a lot of support services in general, whether that would be through our student psychological services or whether it would be through individual offices that support students from various diverse communities around the country, around the world. And so, for example, our Office for International Students and Scholars really does a lot of hands-on work in making sure students feel welcome and students recognize that they will be in an environment that will be different from where they're coming from, even if they are coming from an American pattern high school, for example. And certainly if they're coming from a more of a national pattern high school, that they realize that there will be some challenges and some differences with the culture they'll be experiencing. And so again, overall, it's a place that really focuses on ensuring that students recognize that there are a lot of resources and a lot of support services available to them. And I think that's really one of the hallmarks of being a smaller institution like LMU from that aspect, and also a place that really focuses on that community feel amongst the students, faculty, and staff.
I'm happy to go next and talk a little bit about Emory. So I think one of Emory's big goals really is transparency, and I think that can feel like a challenge, especially when we know that we have to have so many different contingency plans for what happens if the semester goes this way or that way. And I think we acknowledge and I think really have empathized with the fact that this can create a lot of anxiety and discomfort especially for our international students and international families who may have to make additional plans in order to participate in a semester on campus. So one of the things that we've really focused on, and as of I believe it was last year, Emory ranked as the #1 university for best quality of student life in the United States. And part of that comes down to the mental health and support services that are offered on our campuses. So for example, back in the spring when a couple of our students were being tested for COVID and thankfully were negative. But when a couple of our students were being tested for COVID, we did have the Emory Environmental Health Group come out and fully sanitize that student's room. They're working with the roommates to make sure that the roommates are receiving any not only telemedicine help that they might need, but also any counseling and psychological services through our CAPS services that they might need as well. In addition to that, other support services that have been offered and will continue to be offered, our Student Government Association helped distribute free transport passes for students that were having difficulty returning back home or even getting to the airport to get a flight out. So they helped distribute those free transport passes, and that was entirely student-led. We also created a community hardship fund for students that have been adversely impacted by COVID. And currently we do have a $5 million fund put together by the university called the Emory Together Fund to help students, faculty, and staff who may be really put in a difficult position due to Corona. In terms of academic support services, in addition to moving all of our academic support, such as tutoring, office hours, all of our math center, writing center, etc. And so in addition to moving those remotely, we also offered our students the ability to decide if they wanted to take a class pass, fail, take it satisfactory, unsatisfactory. So students were able to petition for that, and faculty members were able to change their course grading structure into that model as well to support the challenges of moving into a virtual capacity. Our counseling and psychological services also offers weekly sessions that are both student-led, so peer-led sessions, as well as sessions led by our director of counseling services. And we are currently offering telemedicine appointments as well for our students. So I think that's about sums it up for Emory, and I'll pass it along to Petra.
It's amazing, honestly, hearing all of these things, and I hope the students, are realizing that universities are really doing a lot to make sure that we support you really from beginning to end in any way possible. On our end, just to kind of add to this conversation is really to see that many of our students, a lot of the times, come to campus sight unseen. For many, maybe it's their first time in Europe, first time in Switzerland, first time in the city of Lugano. So we always have a lot of things in place to really just make sure that the students feel supported with their move to a new country, a new location, and figuring out how to manage that, especially because obviously English is the language used on our campus, but locally the main language is Italian. So even just kind of figuring a lot of those points out. We have wonderful student leaders across our campus, so whether that's the resident assistants, orientation mentors, academic mentors, and other student leaders that have really stepped up even over the summer to hold different sessions, and Zoom chats and different kind of get-togethers, again, for the students to know that they have a community and that they're going to be welcomed, whether that's kind of in isolation of their rooms or that's going to be right away kind of in the classroom to have that. The other thing that we really implemented this summer to help support students was obviously knowing that with the current situation, many students' internships were affected, right, and to kind of work on career services. So we had many opportunities that were graciously funded by our alumni network to offer things on campus or through kind of our local connections. So if the students were no longer able to keep the internships that were set for them, to be able to kind of transition and still get some great experience. And even this coming transitioning week for many of the students that have been on campus, or for those that wanted to return earlier. Our career office has planned an entire career week, so to help with networking, different opportunities for the students to develop, knowing that this is going to be something that's going to be on many students' minds as we're kind of moving forward. So a lot of different things happening, and very much, being creative with what we're given, and of course to help the students. Next up, we just wanted to kind of touch on, obviously, traveling to and from campus, right, and kind of safety measures that are coming to us. I mean, for the Franklin area, we are, as I kind of mentioned, situated kind of in between two major airport hubs. So many of our students have been advised, obviously, just for security's sake, fly directly into Switzerland. So whether that was the Zurich airport, the Geneva airport, or Basel, but because we are only about an hour away from Milan, that is certainly an option, but knowing that the situation is constantly changing, I think many of the students were looking at opportunities to travel into Zurich. Switzerland, of course, is known for incredible public transportation, so it's very easy to take the train directly from the Zurich airport. It's a direct ride just down to Lugano, probably one of the most beautiful scenic train rides of the country. So the students, I think, even have more of a sense of the place that they're going to be arriving to and what it's going to be like. We have gone ahead and kind of re-recorded videos to really guide the students exactly what steps that they would take from getting off the plane to getting into the train station and doing the journey. We've done the same for the other airports. So knowing that many of our students will not be traveling with their parents, families, friends, and are most likely coming on their own. So to really help them be supported. And even our local city of Lugano has been kind enough for us to basically set up a welcome booth, at the local train station, so that it's easier kind of seeing very welcoming faces come through as the students arrive here, and for us to get them to campus, safely and into the next part. Dan, do you want to talk about LMU's plan?
Sure. So first of all, I think one of the benefits of where we're located in Los Angeles is that we're about 10 minutes away from LAX, so one of the largest international airports in the world. And so that makes it incredibly convenient for students to be able to get from wherever they're coming from directly to Los Angeles and directly to our campus. And in most cases, they can get flights that go to many, many different destinations around the world, so it's pretty straightforward from that perspective. We do have public transportation in Los Angeles that students do take advantage of, and also I think the Uber and Lyft services are very advantageous as well. It's very easy to get from campus to any number of different spaces and places in Los Angeles from that network. We also do have an enclosed campus, and we're a residential part of the city, and so we're surrounded by houses and apartments and things like that. And so, for example, in terms of safety on campus, we do restrict access we have 2 entry points, and we do ask that students demonstrate that they're part of the community to be able to enter campus. But also, we do have students when they choose to live off campus, which typically happens their 3rd or 4th year with us. And again, they tend to be most likely to be living right around the corner from where we're located. And so we do have a campus police office that's available, and public safety does make sure that students feel comfortable and safe. In my conversations with students on campus, I've never heard anyone say that they felt uncomfortable or unsafe on campus. So we do have some really well lit, very, very nice spaces for students to be able to explore. We're proud of being named as one of the most beautiful campuses on campus in the United States as well. And so again, having a lot of really great resources there makes a big difference. But overall, it's a place that really students feel comfortable, they feel engaged, they really appreciate, which makes it that much more of a challenge if students can't come to campus right now. And that's certainly something that we would love to be able to welcome students, and are looking forward to that day we can welcome everyone back to campus when we've moved past the pandemic.
Thanks, Dan. So similarly to you all, we are actually about 20 minutes or so away from the airport. So the nearest airport to the Emory campus is Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, the world's busiest airport. So it's pretty easy if you, in a traditional year, if you want to get to Atlanta directly, it's not too challenging to do that. We also do normally have public transportation that stops off at campus. So if you are traveling home during an atypical time of year, year. You can always utilize the public transportation in order to do that. About 30% or so of our students at Emory have cars, so it's not the overwhelming majority of our campus by any means, but we do have an Emory shuttle system. It's called the Cliff Shuttle Systems that not only connect our 2 undergraduate colleges, but also connect our students out into the rest of the city of Atlanta so that they can take advantage of cultural programming that's happening, or big Atlanta area events, or just kind of like iconic Atlanta sites. We have a first-year Emory Experience Shuttle that'll take students out into those areas during a traditional year. This year, we know, is a little bit different. So some of our students have not been able to travel to campus with a member of their family or a parent or a guardian. So this year, we're actually helped to charter shuttles to take students who are physically distant from the airport over to campus and get them moved in and get them settled onto campus. So that is a service that we did offer this year as well. We also do have, in terms of that Cliff Shuttle service, the surrounding area in Atlanta is sort of, you'll find these like wonderful little pockets that are, you'll have little Indias right near campus, or so you can get on and off campus, and you can use those shuttles to go around to those areas pretty easily. In addition, we do also have our campus police department, and they're there to help do everything from I've lost my key to I am walking back from the library at 4 o'clock in the morning. Our campus, while it is located in Atlanta, still is in a pretty residential part of Atlanta, so it feels pretty safe. Our students often say that if I'm crossing the quad at 4 a.m., Rashmi, the thing I have to worry about is not my safety, but that the sprinklers are going to turn on me in the middle of the night. So that's really what their concern is. But we do also offer for our students that might be studying late or have a late night meeting somewhere across campus a night shuttle. So you can just call and they'll come pick you up where you are and take them to your next stop, or take you to your next stop, such as your residence hall. So we do offer that service as well. Other safety measures we have on campus, if you ever feel unsafe, we do have our blue light system. So if you see, you should always have a visual of a blue light somewhere on campus, and you just go there and you can press the button and campus police will arrive within a few seconds to help you. So we do have the patrolling. We're also part of Emory University is our pretty amazing healthcare system, which is a big draw for a lot of families is that healthcare system. So that big university hospital is right smack dab in the middle of campus. So you're going to see you're going to see doctors and nurses kind of like running around on your campus when you're a student there. But you always have access to that if for some reason you do need to get medical services while you're on your campus. So I'll ask the next question, and if each of us could elaborate a little bit on specific international student services that our university office offers. What offices do you have set up just for international students, and how do our international students find community on campus? I guess I could start with that, and then I think I'll pass it on to Petra next. So we do have an Office of International Student Support on our Atlanta campus, and then on the Oxford campus, it's called the Office of International Student Programs. They're there to help you with everything from the moment you get that offer of admission. So they're going to help you with things like your I-20, getting an appointment for your visa issuance. They're going to help you with all of those different things. And then we also do offer a special international student orientation that takes place the week before the rest of our students arrive to campus for the full first year orientation experience. So during that first week, when you are in your international student orientation, we are helping you do everything from setting up a US bank account, getting a US number, finding out where the grocery store is. Some of our international students come to Atlanta and say, I want to learn how to drive in America. We're going to help you make sure that you have all the resources to do that as well. So that's really what the goal of this office is. They're also going to host programs intermittently throughout the year. So one of our most popular events that takes place pretty often actually at Oxford College is our night market. So you will have the Chinese Student Association will come together and put together a night market for all of our students. It's very common if you're walking by any one of the residence halls. We have these massive, beautiful kitchens in our residence facilities. You are going to see one of our international student groups cooking dinner together in there. And the great thing is they always make so much food that they share it with everybody else on campus too. So you're going to see that the campus community is very, very vibrant, especially with around 18% or so international students. Every five people that you meet, went to school somewhere else outside of the U.S. So it's pretty awesome to see that on our campus. Last year, in the incoming class, India was actually the #1 country represented for where you attended high school. So that's a community that's especially strong at Emory. And like I said, Little India is only about 5 minutes or so away from campus. So it's easy to go from campus out into the local community and find all the things that you would at home. So that's something that I use as well. But that's a really great way for our students to engage with the local Atlanta area. We have students coming from all across the globe, all walks of life at Emory. So if you have questions for me specific to, are there students from this city at Emory, feel free to come find me at the fair table afterwards, and we can have a more detailed conversation about it.
Awesome. I think everything is about food on campuses. So Rashmi, I think you really kind of hit on that. We're kind of the same way. Food brings people together. We have an amazing Office of Student Life on campus that is really, really there to help students transition, across everything that they want on campus, but off campus as well. I think in a little bit more of kind of the European and Swiss fashion, we really try to create our network on campus, but also to very much kind of push students off campus to get to know where they're living, and to be a part of that. And we're very lucky that in the city of Lugano, where Franklin is located, we of course have Franklin. There is also a public university, UZI. There's the University of Applied Sciences. There's a very famous music conservatory, as well as some other schools. So we have created a larger student network as well for many of the students to kind of join in and really be active, within kind of the Swiss student network as well, not only just on our campus. And I think this has been something that many of the students really appreciate, because exactly it gives them a great understanding of what it's like to live in the country where we are located. It's been really great to see, obviously, groups on campus, from the Student Government Association to put together a lot of different events to, again, bring students together. The same way that, we have a lot of groups that form around the academic majors, but also around kind of linguistic or cultural groups on campuses. And generally, most of their events do circle around food. So making it, cooking it, and telling people how to make it. So it's really, really nice to kind of see people, I think, float between a lot of different things, to be able to try things that maybe they haven't before. And then naturally, many of our students are also very interested in a lot of outdoors activities. So being situated on the Lake of Lugano, obviously we are hot and humid at the moment. So everybody's excited to go for a swim in the lake, to rent a boat, to really kind of experience that. But the same way to go hiking, rock climbing. Obviously, when we kind of hit the season, the Swiss Alps are just north of us. They're about 45 minutes away for skiing and snowboarding. So it's really nice to see, I think, all these kind of students be able to identify kind of multiple groups across campus to truly engage in that entire atmosphere. So I think this is really helpful for a lot of students to know, and things like that. It's always an easy point to find people like yourselves that are coming from the same background. And then as you start to feel comfortable, to really kind of go beyond your horizons and try a lot of things out. What we typically tend to see across our campus is that we very much welcome more of a third culture kid version of students, so they don't always feel that they just fit within one category. And I think this is really where we kind of embrace that student body as well. Dan, I'll leave it to you.
Yeah, I think I would just echo a lot of what's already been said. I think it's crucial just to have that celebration of diversity, and obviously bringing people together, whether it's through food, whether it's through entertainment, whether it's through shared interests. It's certainly something that's really a big deal to us as well. Our Office for International Students and Scholars does a ton of different events throughout the course of the year to really celebrate cultures from around the world. So anything from more of an American-style Thanksgiving dinner to a Lunar New Year celebration to things like Diwali and Holi and all those kind of celebrations as well. And so I think that's certainly something that's a very important consideration for us. And also we have an extensive international student orientation to welcome students from the very first time they come to campus. And so that's about a week-long experience to really get comfortable with their surroundings, to really understand U.S. classroom culture and also expectations of a student visa holder, but also just to explore Los Angeles and really appreciate everything that the city has to offer. And so we definitely want students to take advantage of everything that the LA is, and that's such an incredibly diverse international city. with so many different restaurants and communities from around the world. And so that's certainly something that we encourage our students to explore and appreciate while they're studying with us. And so again, I think it's really important just to recognize that the diversity is a really crucial component of the experience at LMU, at all of our campuses really. And so that's certainly something that any student would find when they first come to the campus. And I know that was pretty short and sweet, but we are running towards the end of our time today. And so I wanted to just reinforce again that we are more than happy to answer any questions that you may have and encourage you to put those in the chat box, or excuse me, in the questions box. And again, of course, we'll be around for the rest of the college fair as well if you'd like to know more specifically about our institutions. But with that being said, we do have one question which was asking about the concept of choosing a major or choosing something to study. And so I don't know if Rashmi, if you want to start off with that and just talk a little bit about how a student decides what they will pursue ultimately in the classroom.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the question. So at Emory, while you might indicate on your application that you want to study political science or business, we actually don't admit our students by major at Emory. So even when you arrive on campus, you're still classified as a undecided or general studies student. Now, you might come to campus and let's say you were that student that wrote economics on their application. You might come to campus and start taking your first few economics classes and realize this is awesome. This is exactly what I thought it was going to be. Absolutely the career that I want to pursue and the major that I want to pursue. And that's great. At the end of your sophomore year, you can declare your major. So at the end of your second year with us on campus, you can fully declare that major. There is no application process officially into any of our majors, with the exception of music, for example, since that is a major that is a performing arts major. So even within music, there's a few different tracks that you would apply for that. Now, you might be that student that wrote economics on their application. You come to campus and you realize, oh my gosh, economics is not at all what I thought it was going to be. I actually really don't like this. However, I am really enjoying the sociology class that I'm taking. So at the core of it, Emory is a liberal arts institution. So you're taking classes in a number of different subject areas. So if let's say you come to campus and that economics class is what you thought it was going to be, but your sociology class is, there is no formal process for having to switch out of econ into sociology. Just keep taking classes in the areas that are of interest to you, and then at the end of your sophomore year, you can officially declare that major. Even after that point, if you realize, and this happened to me, but if you realize that what I thought I wanted to study is actually evolving even now, you can change the major after that. After you declare it, there's no real process to that, with the exception of filling out one form and having your academic advisor sign off on it. So the majority of our students will change their major a few times while they're at Emory, but you can still graduate within the 4 years, which is the nice part of being at a place like this. And a lot of our students do double major, so even across divisions. So even if you're in the School of Business, you can have a major within the liberal arts in the College of Arts and Sciences. Would anyone else like to jump in?
Petra, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to echo pretty much what Rashmi just said, because we are also a liberal arts education. So the same way when you apply to Franklin, you apply to the institution rather than to a specific major. We see for many students that, sometimes this is very cultural, right? Just in terms of, I think some of them feel very confident. They know what they want to study. They want to have that declared on day one and jump right in. We actually, as part of our first year experience, kind of match the academic advisor to the first year seminar course. And we've seen that this has been really helpful for a lot of the students, not only to have the one-on-one time with a faculty member that is assigned to them, but for that professor to also see them in the classroom every single week, and to really kind of, help develop this, relationship, this understanding, how the student learns, what's best for them, so that really when they're having these kind of conversations in terms of what you do want to actually have your major in, that they can really kind of pinpoint certain factors. We also bring in the academic mentors into this kind of fold, so you also have a peer, because we know that with certain students and things like that, they certainly have the confidence from day one to deal with the faculty directly. For other students, it takes a little bit more time, so they appreciate having another student who was in their shoe a year or two ago to really kind of give that guidance as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I can say from LMU's perspective, we actually do ask students we are also a liberal arts institution, so we do have a core curriculum that's really a crucial component to any academic major on campus. But we do ask students to apply directly to a major, and so the reason for that is that we do have some majors that do require additional application components to them. So for example, our film and television production major, we actually ask students to submit a portfolio of film that they've made previously, or the theater department, we ask students to audition, things like that. And so we do want to make sure that students are prepared to be into the specific academic program they might be interested in. But overall, I think being an institution that does focus on the liberal arts core gives students a lot of flexibility and does encourage students to consider lots of different interdisciplinary studies and lots of different courses of interest they may have. So all of us, I think, have a similar philosophy of education in that we're not really focused on a narrow area of interest. We are looking for a broader interdisciplinary kind of educational experience for students. And so we do encourage students to explore whatever interest they may have with the assumption that you're going to be better prepared when you graduate to be able to address any number of different challenges you may face because you've been exposed to lots of different areas of study and a lot of different areas of interest that you may have. And so you develop yourself in holistically, and that's certainly something I think you benefit from at any liberal arts institution. And so we are just about out of time, but before we go, I did wanted to certainly thank you for being here with us and certainly draw you to the slide here. We're certainly more than happy to talk with you directly. And just one last question for the panel, and we can start with you again, Rashmi. Just any advice that you might give to a student who is looking to apply this year, how to approach this year, and in the midst of so much uncertainty, what kind of steps they should take to be prepared to apply for this year?
Yeah, I think my piece of advice will be this. Just as you are living through this pandemic and in this area of uncertainty, so too are the people who are reading your applications. So we are also figuring it out right there alongside you. We know that there were things that you were planning for your final year that are just not going to happen in the way that you thought they were. And it's okay for that to be the case, because we are also there and we are readjusting and recalibrating our admission processes to line up to this moment. Our hope is that Corona is not forever, that this will be this year, and that we'll be able to, while this is not a new normal, that we're trying to understand that this is the now normal, if that makes sense. But please know that we are right there beside you, that we are readjusting, we are recalibrating. We might not have all the answers right at this moment, but we're going to figure it out. And you as students are in the driver's seat in this process for making that happen.
Yeah, from my end, the one caveat that I would exactly kind of point out is kind of in this new world that we're all experiencing, there's a lot of things that I think from the university side, we're trying to figure out how to bring the future students in for them to get to know us a little bit better and to have a better sense for our campuses. And I think with this, what you're seeing is that we're being creative in terms of how we are using virtual spaces, whether that's an opportunity for you to look inside the classroom, for you to actually hear from our faculty members, to have more of a connection to the current students, to ask your questions. One of those kind of great things is that since we're using a lot of this technology in it, I think you're going to be able to kind of see your university through a completely different light than you would have a year or two ago. And I think that's one of the key things that I think many of us are really trying to do, is to kind of bring the full experience to the students as they're making their decisions. Please never be afraid to ask any questions. I hope that with these experiences, you see that those of us that work in the admissions offices are really there to serve the students. We're trying to find students that are going to be wonderful members of our communities, where they thrive on our campuses and truly kind of achieve the greatest success and make the best decision for themselves.
Absolutely, yeah. And again, I just reinforce everything that's already been said. The one other thing I would add is just to recognize that, ultimately the admissions process is about helping students understand what makes a university unique, and really helping them to figure out what would be the place where really would be the best opportunity, the best fit for them. And so just to reinforce, the reason why the three of us are here today, the reason why all the different college representatives are here today, is because we are very much willing and excited and interested in working with you. And so I would definitely encourage you, certainly in the midst of so much uncertainty, so many things that have changed, so much flexibility, and adjustments that you've had to make over the course, and then we'll continue to make over the course of this year, just reinforces the fact of how willing and able we are to respond, to work with you, to respond to any questions that you may have. We are interested in getting to know you and helping you understand what makes the places that we work in, our institutions that we represent, what makes them unique, what makes them different, what makes them the type of place that maybe you would find to be a wonderful place for you, or maybe that you find maybe is not quite the type of place you're looking for. And so again, I would definitely encourage you to contact us directly. We're more than happy to work with you and help you to get through the questions that you may have and work through the admissions process, and really to ensure that you're finding a place that, again, will be a type of place that will really be a wonderful opportunity for you. Okay. Anyway, with that being said, thank you so much for being with us today. We're very much interested in talking with you further during the college fair, but I hope you enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much.
Does anybody know how we stop?